Hi, this is Margo. This is Sunday evening, February the 13th, 2022. I hope everyone is safe and doing as well as possible. I'd like to welcome everyone to the show tonight. This will be my weekly update that I'll be putting on YouTube, and we're going to go over methane and sea ice and climate-related items and earthquakes. And last week I didn't feel well enough to do a full report, so I only went over methane. And so tonight we're going to kind of double up on the sea ice report to see, what's been going on for the last 2 weeks. So we're going to start with methane from the NOAA website. I've been tracking this since 2019, and I've got 2 days worth that I need to show. So we're starting with the 11th, which was Friday, for the 477/469 millibar reading. This is the Met-Op B or Met-Op 1 satellite in the morning. The mean or average was 1917 parts per billion. The high reading was 2413. In the afternoon, the mean was 1920. The high reading was 2483. So you can see, this methane is just zipping up. So then for the 12th in the morning, the mean was 1917. The high reading was 2568. And notice the pink as far south here, Africa, the southern tip of Africa. Normally we don't see it that high, that far south. It's usually more in the northern hemisphere. And in the afternoon, the mean was 1919 and the high reading was 2486. Here's the chart and spreadsheet that I've been working off of. So for Saturday, it averaged out to be 1918 parts per billion. That gives us an increase for this week of 5 parts per billion. And so you can see the line going pretty much straight up right there from last week. And we're 27.5 parts per billion higher than a year ago this time. And since March the 1st of 2019, we're 48.5 parts per billion higher. So soon we'll hit that March 1st anniversary, and we'll see how much it's gone up then. So it looks like we did hit our low for this winter season on January 14th of 1909, which was this low point right here on the chart. And you can see it didn't come back down a whole lot during this cooling season. So let me show you what happened during the week. So here we were on my report last week. We were at 1913 for the 5th, and that'd been a decrease of that week of 1.5. And then on the 6th, it went down another 1.5. On the 7th, it went down half a part per billion. And then here we go on the 8th, it's starting up. It jumped up 2.5 in one day. And on the 9th, it jumped up 2 parts per billion. On the 10th, it went up 1.5. On the 11th, it went up 1.5. And then for the 12th, it went down slightly half a part per billion. So from the 8th on, we had some steady days of just slamming higher and higher and higher on the methane. And so we're 27 0.5 parts per billion higher than a year ago, like I said. So we're in runaway methane increase, and this will be reflected in higher temperatures, and with that, everything that goes along with that, with worse fires for this fire season this summer in the northern hemisphere, especially. With that, the sea ice will not be able to keep its integrity, and it'll be melting. And I'm thinking that we will have the official Blue Ocean event this summer. I'm suspecting that will be the case, and if we have that, in the Arctic, then all bets are off as to how much longer before everything collapses because of the heat. And we're going to be seeing more and more methane blowouts. We'll be seeing the permafrost thawing even faster around the Arctic region, especially in Russia and northern Canada and Alaska. Those are the main areas where they have a lot of permafrost, and more disasters as a result of the permafrost thawing than the infrastructure that was built on that permafrost, which includes buildings, pipelines of oil and gas, and sewage systems. I mean, all of that will be breaking down, because as the permafrost thaws, then the ground is sagging, and then of course we have the big blowouts that look like, they call it sinkholes, but it's really not. It's big blowouts where it's these perfectly round circles, and then it goes down real far, and it's just and then there's dirt. You'll see dirt around the top of it where there's been a blowout. We'll also see the sea ice. Well, I'll show you that in a minute. We're already having trouble with sea ice right now, but this is dire, and I don't see any way out of this. And I do believe we're in the end times that's been prophesied of in the Bible, and that the climate collapse is part of the end times. And so this is part of the tribulation period, with the famines and pestilences that are brought on as a result of the climate collapse, and then everything else that goes along with it. So there's the methane for NOAA. And then so here we are on CAMS. This is the Copernicus Atmosphere Monitoring Service website out of the EU. I have Saturday the 12th pulled up, Arctic view and surface level ready to go. And here's our color ledger at the bottom. So the data is for Friday, and then Saturday, and then the forecast period is Sunday through Wednesday. So it's still coming up here around Komsomolets. It's not billowing as greatly as we have been seeing earlier this year. And right now we're seeing greens move across, which is a lower reading, but as the methane keeps going up, we'll be seeing higher and higher readings. Now we're seeing it come back to life here in Russia, watching the forecast period. See right up here and stream out across the Kara Sea. We're also seeing this red move out. This is the East Siberian Sea, and here we've got Independent coming up here in the Laptev Sea. So probably blowouts from the seafloor. Also, here at Koktovik, Alaska, we have really high readings. I'm thinking that's an oil production up there on the coastline there. We're still seeing very high readings from this area in North Dakota. This is where a lignite coal mine is, and that's the source of that big methane blob there. We're also seeing our hot spot, our trouble spot here in the North Atlantic, just off the coast of Canada. See it's red popping up. So that's coming up out of the ocean there. Alright, now we'll go to the North Pole view. We're seeing it's filling up the Persian Gulf here, and India is filling up, still spilling out in the Bengal Bay. China is filling up, and look how this dark area was so high up above North Korea, up to, this is Russia right here. See this, and see the arm moving out across Japan and so forth. And then here in North America, we can see huge areas that just look like a big blob, just depending on the day. This will be worse in the summertime as the heat rises. Now we've been seeing warmer than normal temperatures across the whole U.S. this week. And see California, it's filled up and streaming out in the Pacific there. So an increase of 5 parts per billion this week. And that's a sharp increase. Now we're going to go to the Antarctic. We're still seeing some come up down here. The main background color is represents 1820 parts per billion. The navy blue is 1800. Now, you're not going to see much more of this navy blue because with the temperature going up, then it'll be reflected in the colors as it catches hold everywhere. We're still seeing higher readings here along this western peninsula. This is the Larson B Ice Shelf, and also on this west side of the western peninsula in the Larson Sea, and also popping up in the Weddell Sea next to this little island, and all along the Brunt Ice Shelf right here. And then on the Amory Ice Shelf you can see the lighter blue, kind of the aqua popping up. Now the sun is going down. It's at an angle. It's going down in the Antarctic now. It's been up for several months, but the sea ice is still melting. And now we'll look at the global view. So we've got some dark blues here in the Pacific Ocean. That's the 1800 parts per billion. This is surface level, remember. And but that's going to be going away. It's going to be getting higher soon down here in this southern hemisphere. Look at this U.S. That looks awful. It's also filled up in this interior of the South America. Now we'll look at 500 HPA. So this corresponds almost to the level that we're tracking on the NOAA website. So see the solid dark, and see how far south it's coming here in the Pacific, and here in the US, and here down through Europe and Russia, and here all the way through China and so on. Normally it doesn't come down that far. And then total column. Now this is methane added up through all the layers of the atmosphere. The highest readings are always here in China, and then India. And now we've been having some of these high readings too here in South America, in Brazil, right next to Chile there. Now we're going to go through the rest of these images for today. This is sulfur dioxide worldwide today. We're seeing high reading here on the South America coastline. This is a volcano that's going off. We've got a high reading that this is left over from Mount Etna, blew up 2 or 3 days ago here at Sicily, and released a very high reading of sulfur dioxide. This is the remnant of that's slowly drifting east We also have, see this high reading near Kamchatka. This is volcanic activity. Then this red here in China, that's from pollution. Here it is at 500 HPA, and here's the high reading where it shot up in the atmosphere, South America, and here's what's left over from Mount Etna, and then this is new here today. When you see it shoot up like that, that's usually volcanic or earthquake related. Although we did have some unusual sulfur dioxide activity in on the west coast of the U.S. earlier this week on Monday. I couldn't figure out what that was from, but that was a one day event. It was very strange. Okay, now here's the ozone for the Antarctic for today, and anything below the solid yellow, meaning greens or blues, that's lower than average, or the solid yellow is 300 Dobson units, so we can see that most of the continent is in the very thin ozone, and as the sun's going down, this hole is starting to open up again over the Antarctic. Now we have some aqua here, which is the next color down from the blue-green. This is at the southern tip of South America. Here's the Arctic view of the ozone. We have a thin area right up here in Russia, next to Severnaya Zemlya. Now this is where a bunch of methane has been coming up, and methane does eat up the ozone layer. And then we've got heavy ozone from China around, and then gathering here over Canada. And then this is the global view. We've got another thinning, or hole, I'm calling it holes now, off the west coast of the U.S. and next up to Canada, right there, Vancouver Island. And then most of the southern hemisphere is below average, and so this is very bad and letting through all kinds of radiation from the sun. And Australia, see, you've got the blue-green primarily, which is the next color down from the chartreuse. And sulfur dioxide will also eat up the ozone. And also nuclear activity, nuclear plants, anything nuclear also hinders the earth from being able to make its ozone layer. That's all of those. Now I'm going to go through Climate Reanalyzer next. This is today, and this is 2-meter temperature anomaly, and this is for the air temperature of the Earth, and this is warmer or colder than average, and their base is 1979 to 2000, so that's the base there. And so we know that that's just a range that they picked there for it to be the base. So here we have over the Arctic over the basin and from Franz Josef Land over in the reds, in the bright reds, up to 18 to 20 C higher than normal. And then Greenland is moving into the browns. Have a lot of browns in Russia, but we've got a lot of purples, which is colder than normal, from eastern Siberia over across Alaska, and then swooping down Canada, and now swooping down through the U.S. down into Mexico and the Gulf of Mexico. So that's colder than normal. This had been all brown earlier this week. And then we've got browns on the west side and browns on the east side. And then here's the flat view. And see, in the Antarctic we've got reds here on the Weddell Ice Shelf, and browns over most of the Antarctic. And see these blues colder than normal, right next to the warmer than normal. So this is where you have the weather chaos build up. Worldwide, we're up 0.2 C higher than normal. The northern hemisphere is up 0.3 C. The Arctic is up 0.9 C higher than normal. It would be higher than that if it weren't for the purples and the blues that we're seeing across Canada and Alaska and Russia and Greenland. The tropics are in balance. Southern hemisphere, no change. The Antarctic is up 1.7 C higher than normal. Here's precipitation and clouds for today. Green is rain, blue is snow. So another thing with the warming temperatures, we're going to see more and more rain over the Arctic. And we saw quite a bit over the Arctic, quite a bit of rain over the Arctic. Last summer, we also saw rain at Greenland for the first time ever. And so we're going to be seeing more and more of that. Here we've got rain going up to southern Norway today. And here's the flat view. Also, we'll be seeing more intense storms. Here's the not even a stream anymore, it's just the jet pieces. And see the breaks. You can see the breaks in the air there. And so that's where the cold air is swooping down from the Arctic down through the U.S. and then here in Russia too. And we've got breaks all around. We'll look at sea ice and snow cover in a minute. Here is sea surface temperature anomaly. This is as of yesterday. We're seeing browns up here in the Barents Sea and also coming in now around Novaya Zemlya. This is in the North Kara Sea. So that's heating up. This area is, the sun is coming up here. And we'll be looking at that in a minute. A lot of the Russia coastline is already in the sun, and so now that it's in the sun, the water's going to be heating back up. And we still have browns in the North Atlantic, here around Svalbard, around Greenland, and see the red and well, this pink spot, I'm thinking this is where that problem spot is for methane. And this reflects 6C higher than normal. That's the highest on their chart. I think they're going to have to change this and increase this. I think this is really higher than the 6C. And also this whole west coast of North America is just super hot, even in the winter time. And see, the Gulf of Mexico is heating up, moving into reds there. And here on the flat view, we've got reds on the east side of South America. We've got reds around all the way around this bottom part of Africa, and then reds and browns from Australia down around Tasmania, and browns around New Zealand, and then reds up here around Japan and coming out across the Pacific. We're also seeing the interior water masses, lakes and seas. They're starting to heat up now. See the Caspian Sea here, it's moving into reddish brown. The Black Sea has got browns. Most of the Mediterranean has browns, and so on. Worldwide, we're up 0.3 C, higher than normal. The northern hemisphere is up 0.5 C. The North Atlantic is up 0.8 C. The North Pacific is up 0.4 C. The southern hemisphere is up 0.2 C. And the equatorial Pacific is down 0.3 C. That's this area in the blue here, just west of South America. That's in the negative. So there's that. Now we'll move on to our sea ice part of the report. Close that one out. I'm starting with the slideshow from Climate Reanalyzer. This is sea ice and snow cover as of today. This is the Arctic view. And if we zoom in, here in the Baffin Bay, it's been refreezing more on the west side. It's little fringe of ice is around this west side of Greenland, and then coming in up and around, and then the east side we've got a little fringe of ice, and then a little bit thicker coming around. Now here, this area between Svalbard and Franz Josef Land, in my last show where I showed sea ice 2 weeks ago, this had been melting. Now this refroze and now it's melting again. Also, up here in the North Kara Sea and around Novaya Zemlya, this is clearing out. Now we had some problems with sea ice, the drift, or I'm not sure what happened, but it's like everything shifted to the left on January the 12th, and then it kind of refroze, but the sea ice drift kept pulling it away. And so there are areas, you'll see, we'll look at it, there are areas where there's a lot of open water, even where it looks like we're seeing sea ice here. It's a little bit deceptive. So I'm going to show you for the last 2 weeks now. We'll get caught up. Here was my show on Sunday, January 30th, and this is where we saw the hole. And there's not a lot of difference here. Now the hole was more pronounced here on the 30th. And see, it doesn't really look that much different from the 30th. So we'll just click through and see what happens here. Here's Monday, the 31st. Here's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Now you saw it freeze back and now it's going back out there around Nova Zembla. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then here we are today. So in the summertime, this will be much more dramatic in changes on the sea ice. So there's that. Now, we'll move on. This is from the U.S. Navy website. This is the Arctic Sea Ice Model for Ice Thickness. The color ledger is here on the right. It goes from white, which is 0, which the fringe, where you see the white fringe, that's 0 right next to the little light lavender, through purple and all the way up, backwards through the rainbow, all the way up to this dark red, reddish brown, which is 5C thickness. 5 meters thickness. 5 meters, not 5C, sorry. We've got just a little line of that here on the Canadian coastline, and a little hairline of red along the Greenland coastline, and that's it for the really thicker ice. And then see the greens, that's about 3 meters thick. The bright aqua is about 2.5 meters thick, and the darker aqua is about 2 down to 1.5 meters thick. The navy blue is about 1.25 meters thick. The dark purple is about 1 meter thick. And so this is for today, and I've named these quadrants 1, 2, 3, and 4 just for my own reference. So here at quadrant 1, we're seeing thickening going into the aqua. We've got a little bit of bright aqua, not just popping up sporadically and along this Russia coastline. Some aqua, and then darker aqua, but we've got a lot of blues and purples. Also, now here, this is the Laptev Sea, and this is Severnaya Zemlya. This little island here is called Komsomolets. That's where we have been seeing the methane billowing up on cams for the last over a year, right there around Komsomolets. And see, we're seeing the white, we're seeing open water on this left side from Komsomolets all the way up along this Russia coastline. This is the Taimyr Peninsula, and then going on up. And then we've got aquas on the other side where the ice is kind of piling up. The ice drift is pulling, the ice is moving to the west. When it really gets going, it mainly moves to the west up here, and so it pulls it away from the coastlines. And then here, this is the Yamal Peninsula. We're seeing white up here at the north end of that. and then here's Novaya Zemlya, and see, we've got an open spot here at the southern end, and then all around this Russia coastline where it had been filling in, see, that's melting now. This is in the sun, and a lot of Novaya Zemlya is in the sun now too. And then we're in quadrant 2 now, and see, the hole is opening up again between Svalbard and Franz Josef Land. See the white? There's a lot of open water around these islands, and this fringe of the sea ice extent, I don't think it's going to come back out any further. I think it's going to be melting now. We've got a little bit of aqua, dark aqua here. This is the North Pole where the lines cross. And then here in quadrant 3, this is just on the northern side of Greenland and Ellesmere Island. And it's mainly aqua, bright aqua, and darker aqua, and then a little bit thicker around the Greenland coastline. Now in this Nares Strait, which is this passageway between Greenland and Ellesmere Island, this is quite thin. There's some open water, quite a bit of open water in fact, here in between the pieces of ice. It's thickened up right here at the end of the Nares Strait, but it is open here next to Greenland. This is in the North Baffin Bay. And then on this northeast edge of Greenland, it's open as well. See the white, and then it's thin there. So both the east side and the west side, they're both open. And then we can see this little fringe of ice coming down around the southern tip of Greenland. This reflects what we saw on Climate Reanalyzer. And then it's a little bit thicker on this Canadian side in the Baffin Bay. And here's in the Hudson Bay. See, on the east side and southern side, the ice is kind of piling up around the coastlines, but it's thin, see, on the west side. Then these tributaries are thickening up into the aquas. And then in quadrant 4, we've got mainly aqua all the way, different shades of aqua all the way across. This is the Beaufort Sea. And then here in the Chukchi Sea, we've got this thin area going down into dark purple, which is about 1 meter thick. Just above, here's the Bering Strait. And see, the ice is thicker here in aqua because that's a thin passageway or narrow passageway, so it's kind of piling up there. But then there's a thin spot right here in the Chukchi Sea. And then out here in the Pacific, see a little bit of extent coming back, but it's quite thin. And also here on the Russia coastline, this is the Sea of O coast, all the way down to Japan. We've got a little bit refreeze, a little bit there. Now we'll look at the 30-day animation. This was updated to yesterday, so the data goes back 3 weeks and the forecast period goes out to next Saturday. So we'll zoom in and see what's going on here. So here along Greenland, it's kind of smoothing out. It's not really coming out any further. So mainly just more thickening, slow thickening. And just not a lot of change. Just slow thickening, it looks like. So I'm going to stop it. Here we are at the end of the model. So here we are today. So I'll click through and we'll see the changes. Not a lot. Not a lot of difference. It's just kind of holding. So the next thing is Beaufort Sea Ice Thickness. So from this vantage point, this is Canada, and see the thickest here. It goes up into the dark red, which is up to 5 meters thick. Just a little thin line. Then the orangey red, that's about 4 to 4.5 meters thick. And Alaska is down here at the bottom. Not very much thick ice around the coastline here. So this is the Beaufort Sea in this area. We have different shades of aqua. So we have thicker coming up, on towards this Alaska coastline, but it's thinner out here in the middle. And then here, this is the thinner area where the Chukchi Sea is. Here's the 30-day animation. This was updated to today. So the forecast period goes out to next Sunday. So just slight thickening happening. Okay. Here we are today, the 13th. So I'll click through and we'll see what we can see. So overall it's getting to a lighter color, which is reflects the little bit thicker ice in the aquas. There's that. And then here's the Antarctic sea ice thickness for today. Now, this will keep melting usually until around the early part of March. Now last year the refreeze started early, around the end of February. So we'll see what happens this year. We can see it's melted up to the coastline. for the most part, except for just a little bit down here on the southern edge and here on the western edge and here in the Weddell Sea, but it's thinning out. And the thicker ice, the aquas are here. This is the Weddell Sea, and here's a little hint of red here on this western side. Here's the 30-day animation. Again, this was updated to yesterday, so the forecast period goes out to next Saturday. So let's zoom in. Uh-oh, I didn't mean to do that. Here we go. We'll watch what the model is showing for this week. Well, no refreeze yet. Still melting. Okay, here we are at the end of the model. So this is what they're showing for next Saturday. Now we've got thin ice here. This is near the Thwaites Glacier, and we're going to be looking at that today. And see, it's still thinning out quite a bit here in the Weddell Sea. Not much change here with this aqua group of ice. It's still just thinning out around these coastlines, though. And then I have something to show you guys. This is National Snow and Ice Data Center. This is their latest as of yesterday, the 12th. This is sea ice concentration. And the blues, the darker blue it is, the less concentrated it is. So we can see the hole here opening up between Svalbard and Franz Josef Land. There's black, that's open water. And also see the blue here around Severnaya Zemlya. And also this whole Kara Sea is starting to lose its whatever integrity it had. This is melting, and along this Russia coastline it's melting too. Now here is the Arctic sea ice extent, the chart for yesterday. The blue line is this year. The dotted line is for 2012-2013, and this is definitely not looking good. And this blue line, it's not only did it flatline, but it's going down. We can see that it's going down. Now last time I showed this on YouTube was 2 weeks ago, and we were right here in the timeline, and at that point this 2012 line was higher, and we were just dipping below the 2012 line. I'll show you. I have that here. This is where we were January 29th. See the date there? And you see the difference in this dotted line? So this was changed after my show 2 weeks ago. I'm not sure whether it was Monday. I know it was changed by Tuesday, Now my show 2 weeks ago, it was on the 30th, so we showed the 29th. They post the data the next day. And then I discovered it on Wednesday. And that was February the 2nd, which would have been for February the 1st. So I discovered the change then. But see how it was here on the 29th. See, the dotted line was more of an arc here. And see, we had flatlined, the blue line had flatlined, and we were just under the 2013 line. But look at it now. Here we were. This was see, here's the line for January, and then we went up a little bit, and then so it curved back up. So the refreeze stalled out here around the 28th and 29th, and then it picked up a little bit here, and now not only has it stalled out, but it's headed down. And so here, look at this 2012 line. Look how far down it's going now. And see, we were below it here. So this whole line, see, now it's low and much lower than where we had been. And in the other image, see, it just arcs on up, running parallel to the gray line. See, it was arcing up, running parallel, and so now we're even dipping down and touching the new revised 2012-2013 line, which was lower. So now we're even touching that. So it looks to me like, well, not only was this manipulated, and I immediately saw the difference because I look at this often enough, but we're also having a real problem with the refreeze, and it's stalled out, and now it's melting. And traditionally, the refreeze will go on into March. But see, here's the arc. It usually peaks out the maximum around early March. But early to mid-March, about the same time that the Antarctic is at its lowest. So this is not good. This is not good at all. And to have it stalled out twice, and now melting along with the methane, just zipping up like that. This is very bad news for the Arctic sea ice. And so here's the Antarctic, and this is again sea ice concentration for yesterday. And here's their sea ice extent, and see, it's still going down. The blue line is this year. Last year is this greenish line. The average is this gray line. And so we're well below all of those lines still. That's all of those. Now we'll move on to NASA Worldview. This is for the 13th today for the Arctic. And see the black circle, this is where it's still in the dark, but sun is coming up. You can see it's a lot smaller than the last time when we looked at this. Let's see, over half of Greenland is now in the sunlight. And see Novaya Zemlya. This, it's 2 islands basically, and here's the break between the islands. So the bottom island is almost all in the sun now. Yamal Peninsula is all in the sun. There it is. And here's the Taimyr Peninsula. It's coming into the sun. This is the Kara Sea. A lot of it is in the sun. This whole Russia coastline is all in the sun now. And here's the Laptev Sea. And see this whole Russia coastline, almost the whole Russia coastline from Taimyr over is in the sun now. And here's the Bering Strait, here's Siberia, here's Alaska. It's all in the sun now. Canada is coming in the sun. See this Beaufort Sea, now it's being exposed to sunlight. And so as far as any refreeze or thickening, it's going to be slow going with the sun coming up like it is. Now, here's some sea ice. This is in this East Siberian Sea. Normally, what you'll have along the coastlines is like a shelf of ice coming out where it's a little thicker, and then there's a break, and then the thinner ice is, see, and that's what we have here. And you can see the edge there, and then see, then the thinner ice, and then where the edge is, we've got some open water along there. And then coming on around, here's the Gulf of Ob, here's Yamal Peninsula. This is sea ice. See how thin this is in the middle. And then on this other side, see the pieces there. Here's the coastline. So here's the Russia coastline. This is the Kara Sea. We're looking through some clouds, and also it's at an angle, so some of these might be a weird color. Here's Novaya Zemlya. Here's the sea ice. See, it's just pieces, and you can see open water here. Also, you see open water there. And then this is all open. This is the Barents Sea. Here's Mermakes, Kola Peninsula, and then this is Norway down here, and then Greenland. Here's this east side, and then here's the west side. Here's the Baffin Bay coming up. Here's the sea ice. We're looking through a cloud here. There, see? There's the ice. See the pieces? So there's some open water there. Now, oh, I showed that. I'm going to turn on the sea ice concentration layer. This shows us where the ice is. I'm going to turn on the blue marble layer, and then we won't be distracted looking at the ice. There it is today. Now we want it to be super concentrated or fully concentrated. It should be white. We're not seeing very much white. We're seeing a lot of pinks and reds down here around Greenland, and then see along these coastlines where the reds and greens are. That's where it's melting. See up here, and there are holes in the ice here, and we'll look at the nighttime layer and we'll see these holes. Here's Franz Josef Land, and see the black. There's no ice where the black is. And then here's Svalbard, and so this is where the hole is opening back up. And then these colors, it can be the colors when it's either refreezing, where it's thin and going back thicker, or when it's melting. So you just have to look the few days before to get the context of whether it's coming back or going away. But it looks like up here in this North Kara Sea, this is opening up. And so on. So okay, I'm going to go in a little bit. Okay, I'm going to have it like this. And then let's go back to January. And let's go back to the 30th. Which was my last time I showed this for you guys on YouTube. Here it was on the 30th, and this is where it was opening up. And see the ice here in the Kara Sea. So we'll just click through and see. There's the 31st. Here's the 1st, 2nd, 3rd. Now you can see the refreeze happening. See where these colors are going into pinks and whites. Also down here in the Kara Sea, there was the refreeze. Here's the 4th, 5th, 6th. And now on the 6th, see it's starting to melt again, also up here in the Kara Sea. look at that, from the 6th to the 7th. That was a big opening up there. Here's the 8th. That's melting. 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, and here we are today. So it looks like a little fringe trying to come back today. But overall, it's not good. This is reflecting what we saw on National Snow and Ice Data Center with the refreeze stalling out and melting. So now I'm going to turn off the blue marble layer. I'm going to turn on the nighttime layer. And we're going to go down here. See those dots? That's where there's open water. And we can see it. This is a really good view right here. Here's Greenland, and see, here's the open water, here's the pieces of ice in this nearest strait, and then here's some ice right here, and then open here along that little shelf. And then we're moving into clouds and can't see that much. So here's this nearest strait, and so this is another satellite feed that came in at a different time. That's why that's a different color. But you can still see it looks almost black there. That's open water. This is ice. See the open water. And then up here, same thing. And then we're up. This is the Lincoln Sea here. See. So here's Greenland. Let's see, let's get our bearings. I have to turn on the ice every now and then just to see where I'm at. So here are some leads. These long lines, those are called leads, and that's where it's thin, where it's had been open water, and it refroze in between the pieces of ice, the big areas that are thicker, and then, but you can see the big cracks opening up here. See the leads? Okay, let's turn on the ice. Okay, so this is Greenland. This is this northeast edge, and here's the hole just off the coastline. And then here's the ice out to the east. And see all this open water in between the pieces. That's not frozen. See where it's dark like that? It's not frozen in between. Same thing out here. Okay, here's Svalbard, and see this open water on this left side. And then coming up, This is Franz Josef Land, and see the black, that's open water. So this is all open, open. And here's Novaya Zemlya here. And there's the north end. And that's open. Here's the ice. See? A lot of open water. See that? This is the Kara Sea. And then this is the Russia coastline here. Here's the Yamal Peninsula. And let's see where we are. Okay, this is Severnaya Zemlya. These islands here. Komsomolets is right down here. And there's open. This is the area where we're seeing methane billowing up. And see, it's open. All of this is open, 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 open. And then here's the Taimyr Peninsula. And here's the pieces of ice there. And then a little fringe of ice. That's quite thin. And here is the Laptev Sea, and there's quite a bit of open water here, or just very thin ice. See that? And here's the Russia coastline. So again, you can see where the ice ledge comes out, and then the break there. Now, where's this? Okay, this is New Siberian Islands here. And then see the break along the ledge there. This model is very good today. Normally we can't see much up here. Just depends. I see this long lead, so that'll be opening up. See, it goes all the way down. Here's another one. That's probably open water there. Alright, so we're coming back around. So you get the idea here. And see the leads. So this part next to Alaska is actually in the sunlight. So you get the idea here. See? So there's that. Now we'll hop down to the Antarctic. Here we are for today. Pretty cloudy. Here's the Ross Sea. It's totally open, no ice here. This is Ross Island. There's Mount Erebus, the volcano. We got a lot of clouds here. Let's look at yesterday. This was better. See, it's clear here. And we've got shadows. See the blue? That's a shadow of the volcano here. And the ridge here. See the blue? Got a lot of melting up here. Let's go back to today. So we're looking through clouds, but there's no ice along here. Here's the coastline. See, it's melting right up to the coastline. See, the pieces is still in high melt. And we're coming around to the west side. Now right up here, this is Thwaites Glacier, and I showed 2 weeks ago how this was breaking, and also we looked at Pine Island Glacier. It's been pretty cloudy. Now here, this is Pine Island Glacier, and this area there's no clouds, and we can see that's water there. That's melted, and see the line coming across. This is where it calved off a couple of years ago. This is the sea ice that refroze. And it's still melting there. Look at this. So let's go back. See, it's mainly cloudy. Hard to see much. Okay, this is a good view from the 4th. See how this ice tongue is just broken up. It's just demolished. And that's the Thwaites Glacier. Let's go back. Wow, you see the ice moving. So, there it was in my last show, where I showed sea ice. That was the 30th. So, I mean, it had a bunch of it had already broken off, but this was quite dramatic. Here it is on the 31st. Now watch. Watch this. Here's the first. Here's the second. Here's where all those cracks came across. So, that was February 2nd. Here's the third, fourth. Watch it pulling away. Fifth. Uh-oh. Here's the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, and today. So you can see that that's still just coming apart. Look at this. Then coming around, here's the Western Peninsula. This is the Larson B Ice Shelf. This is one place where we see methane coming up all the time in the Larson Sea. I mean, this is Larson Sea. I'm sorry. Larson B is up here. We're watching an iceberg. I'll show you this guy. A76. See? Right there. He broke off right down here from the ice shelf. Just before their winter season. And it rotated around, it's been moving out, and it's got quite a bit of momentum, I think. It's all intact. And see, that sea ice is not very thick. It's just gonna keep moving on out unless it gets stuck. You know, if the refreeze starts fast enough and it gets cold enough, it'll become icebound until their next summer. So that's the 11th. Here's this Western Peninsula. Here's the 12th. And today. So this is very cloudy. Here's the Weddell Sea. This is where most of the thicker ice is, down here. And right here is the Weddell Ice Shelf. That line. And then this is the Brunt Ice Shelf. This is another area where we're seeing methane coming up. And see, it's breaking off all the way up. Lots of open water here. And then coming on around, this is open all around the coast. Here's the north end. And then on the east side, here's the Amory Ice Shelf. This is a very good view today. Here's a little fringe of ice. So that little fringe of ice is new. I'm wondering, I'm thinking these are melt ponds. I'm not for sure. Usually they show up blue like that. And a melt pond is where the surface of the ice is melted, and so it's water appearing on top, and it shows up in a darker, like a darker blue, sometimes in kind of a gray color. Now you can see the flow of the ice here. See? And it's a different color. See the blues? Now I know that algae grows on the snow and the ice, and so I'm thinking that this could be algae, or it could just be switching colors as it's melting and starting to flow a little bit. And then coming around, here's this east side, and then here's the southeast edge. This is the Totem Glacier. This is another one I'm following. Here it was yesterday. This is the tongue, and there's a crack going all the way across. It looks like it's getting bigger. I don't know if this is going to break off this season or not. That's yesterday. And here we are today. And we're back to where we started from. Now, I know this show is running long, but I needed to get caught up on everything. Now we'll look at earthquakes for the last week or so. Here we are on USGS. We've got 242 earthquakes worldwide today of all magnitudes. Of note, we've got two kind of stacked up here. This is right in the middle of the North Atlantic Ocean. 4.7 and 4.9. They're on the Reykjanes Ridge. This is just southeast of Greenland. Also, we've got one at 5.4 at the South Sandwich Islands region. I wanted to show here in the U.S. in West Texas, we've got a cluster going on here. We've got 12 in this picture. One that's a 2.8 just to the west. Now the reporting station is White City, New Mexico, but it's actually in Texas, and this is West Texas. So we've got 11 stacked up on top of each other here, and the largest is a 4.2. Normally we don't see them this big here. This came in today at 3:02 a.m. 7.6 kilometers deep. And then we got threes. There were threes before that and after that, and then it's going down to twos magnitudes. So something's up there. Also, we've been having movement on and around this Juan de Fuca plate this week. Let's see. The geysers has 30 today. And I wanted to show we're still having a lot of activity down in the South Pacific all around this Tonga region, and right now we've got 5 here, and the largest is a 5.4 at Vanuatu. And this here in Marizo village in Guam, we've got 5 here all stacked up in the last 24 hours, 2 5.7s, and then moving down into the 4s range. Something's happening there. And then look at this, off the coast of Hokkaido, Japan. And then this is a 5.4 Metzevan, Armenia. And then look, Africa's picking up in the interior. We've got a 4.8 near Uganda and a 4.7 at Rumonge, Burundi, so just south of that. Now I wanted to go 7 days, all magnitudes. So we've got 1981 for this week. We had 2 up here in the north, or in the Arctic region. See, 2 4.7 and 4.5, both by Novaya Zemlya. Severnaya Zemlya, sorry. Right on the red line, so not far from the North Pole. And I wanted to show, look at this. Look at this west side. See the Juan de Fuca plate. Look at all this movement. 3.2, 3.0, 3.9, and then here on the fulcrum point, see they're lined up. So a lot of movement. And also of note, Mount St. Helens was swarming. So we had 25 here in the last week. A whole bunch of them are right in the crater. I think the largest was a 2.0. Yeah, right here, right in the crater of Mount St. Helens. That happened on the 10th. So, we also had some larger ones in California this week. We had some 3s. Can't remember exactly where. Here we go, 3.9, that's what I was looking for, at Santa Paula. This is just northwest of LA. This came in on the 10th. And see, you've got a whole cluster there. this was all around the 10th through the 13th, and you got 14 there. And trying to remember what else. Well, you can see the patterns and see where all the movement is. And look at all this activity in the Aleutian Islands. Now these are volcanic islands. We had a lot of 5s this week. A lot of the bigger dots. See? These are all 5s. Dots that size, 5, 5, lots of 5s. And then down here in the South Pacific and Tonga region, see, lots of activity. 34 here this week. 5s and 4s there. So that's my report for tonight, and I will finish it out by reading from the Bible. I'm going to read another psalm tonight. This is Psalms chapter 8. O Lord, our Lord, how excellent is thy name in all the earth, who has set thy glory above the heavens. Out of the mouth of babes and sucklings hast thou ordained strength because of thine enemies, that thou mightest still the enemy and the avenger. When I consider thy heavens, the work of thy fingers, the moon and the stars which thou hast ordained, what is man, that thou art mindful of him, and the Son of Man, that thou visitest him? For thou hast made him a little lower than the angels, and hast crowned him with glory and honor. Thou madest him to have dominion over the works of thy hands. Thou hast put all things under his feet, all sheep and oxen, yea, and the beasts of the field, the fowl of the air, and the fish of the sea, and whatsoever passeth through the paths of the seas. The Lord, our Lord, how excellent is thy name in all the earth. Psalms chapter 8. So I'll close it out there, and it's getting very difficult for a lot of people to be here. We need to be in prayer. We need to be also reading the Bible. And you need to develop a one-on-one relationship with God and Jesus. And that's the only thing that's going to protect you and guide you through these dark days. The end is coming, and it's near. And I recommend that you all get your spiritual house in order and be ready for when that time comes for you. So I hope everyone has a good week and that you stay safe. And until next time, God bless you. Go in peace, and I will talk to you soon. Good night.